While it's fair to say that possibly some of the confusion could be mischief-making or even a bit of politicking, one point does seem rather strange, Health Secretary, and perhaps you can help me on this, in that, sadly, they're no longer on with me, but if I still had two parents, I could arrange to meet them, but I could only see my mum, who would then have to get back in the car and then see my dad. That does seem a little confusing. Mr. Hancock, good morning.
Hello, how are you?
Good, sir.
The reason is that that seeing people outside is less risky than seeing people inside, because the scientists have found that the transmission of the virus outside is much lower than inside, but it still has a risk. And the thing we really want to prevent is groups gathering outside. And I think the principle that you can see one other person, it does take into account that the yearning that many people understandably have to see a relative at a distance, at 2 meters, but without large groups forming. And even as soon as, you've got to make a judgment about where that's reasonable to set the limit. And we're just being very cautious, Nick. People want to see this virus going down.
Of course.
And so we are being cautious, and I'd rather be criticised for being too cautious than to let go of the virus.
But I say again, I think a lot of the problems were mischief-making yesterday, but that is an odd one.
Yeah.
The way I interpret it, then, Dad sits in the car while Mum gets out, and then Mum gets in and Dad gets out, and everybody stays at 2 metres. That is permissible.
Well, we have had a rule in place from the start of lockdown that groups of 2 people is fine outdoors at over 2 meters. So it's in a way, it's just a restatement of that. But it is also really clear that as soon as if we'd said any more than that, then suddenly you're into groups,
yes.
And there are risks, and we want to keep this virus under control. Hence the slogan, which people also understand, Nick. I know that Twitter got very excited, but people, I've spoken to my constituents, they understand what stay alert means. It means stay alert to the fact that there's a virus. We have to behave differently to how we did before. We have to be careful to wash our hands, to clean surfaces, to stay 2 meters apart wherever possible, and hence to control the virus.
And regarding that slogan, did the Chief Medical Officer and Chief Scientific Advisor sign off on this new slogan, Secretary of State?
Well, they're involved in all the decisions.
So they did sign off on this actual wording?
Well, yes, I remember the meeting very carefully. We were all in that meeting when the slogan was presented. But actually, the slogan was worked on with a lot of input from ordinary people, and listening to what people actually understood and responded to, and people get it. People get it.
Well, they don't seem to get it in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, where they've decided not to use it.
Well, the truth is that in Scotland, the R rate is, we fear, higher than in England, and to a certain degree in Wales as well. And so that's a decision for their governments locally. But we've been clear that we've changed the slogan because it itself, the absolute stay-at-home message was not actually what we were proposing, because we were saying to, talk to my nurses who work in hospitals. They go out to work every day, and unfortunately can't stay at home because we need them on the front line. So, it's a more nuanced message. We are trusting people's common sense, but by God, Nick, haven't people shown common sense over the past 6 weeks?
They have shown extraordinary, that great British phlegm for which we know of the public so well. Just to clarify then, can a father employ his son as a cleaner so they could see him in the house? That would work.
Well, people should apply common sense. Now, there's a reason that we've made those rules clear on cleaners and indeed childminders, and that's because an awful lot of people rely for their livelihoods on being cleaners, and of course they should be socially distanced whilst doing that work, and obviously clean the surfaces, but that's part of what they're there for. So again, it comes down to common sense, doesn't it? There's a reason that we've changed that rule, and the reason is because an awful lot of cleaners need to be employed in order to to make ends meet. And so that's the purpose of the change, not to allow family members to meet, although I understand the yearning for people to want to do that and to see their family members. But unfortunately, we are going to have to stay in
Yes.
lockdown whilst we get the rate of infection down.